we do injustice and mistreat others, then when we stand before Yahweh, we cannot be justified. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4 of a special week of Pesach readings. Today's reading is taken from Shemot or Exodus chapter number 22. It begins with verse number 24 and goes through chapter 23, verse 19. And no, we're not going to read all of that. But this is a section of what's called the Mishpatim, that is the judgments, various societal rules and regulations that Yah gives to us so that we know how to treat one another. Among the issues that we see that he wants us to pay attention to is in dealing with those who are poor. He says in chapter 22, verse 26, if you take your neighbor's garment as a pledge at all, you're to return it to him before the sun goes down, for it's his only covering. It's the garment for his skin. What does he sleep in? And it shall be that when he cries to me, I shall hear, for I show favor. He talks to us about recognizing first fruits, about bringing to him that which belongs to him. In the animal kingdom, he says, let it be with its mother for 7 days, and then on the 8th day, bring it to me. He talks about our participation as witnesses in a tort or court situation, that we not join ourselves together with the crowd that is rendering a false verdict. Now, how many times have we seen this played out in social media? Some situation has evolved. Somebody's got some legal standing or some crime that they're accused of, or some well-known celebrity person gets involved in something, and the whole world begins to take one side. And it only turns out that we're all wrong all along. And we believed a false report. How many of us have jumped on a bandwagon, beating and banging the drums? Someone's guilty, someone's done something wrong, only to turn out we didn't have all the facts. We didn't know all that happened. And then the wrong party gets, or at least the accused party, gets vindicated. A lot of crow needs to be eaten, but not a lot of that's been done. So he says, don't run with the crowd to do false witnessing. He says that in chapter 23, verse 4, when you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. Verse 5, when you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help him. Even those that mistreat you, you're not allowed to mistreat them. Well, we say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and turnabout's fair play, and he's only getting what's coming to him, etc. No, if you see your adversary in a bad situation, Yah says you're obligated to help him. And we want to complain to the heavens. You know what he did? You know what they said? You know how they acted? Doesn't make any difference. And it's hard to do. Nobody would enjoy that. We like to stand off to the side and fold our arms and go, Now you know how it feels. Well, Yah is not in favor of that. He says that we are to be kind to those that are strangers, a sojourner, because we were sojourners or strangers when we lived in Mitzrayim or in Egypt. In 6 years, you're to sow the land and gather its increase, in verse 10 and following. In the 7th year, you let it rest. You do the same with your vineyard and with your olive yard. 6 days you work. On the 7th day, you rest, so that your female servant and sojourner can be refreshed, so that your ox and your donkey can rest. Before we get into the 3 times a year, let's just pause for a moment here. He's telling us, I want you to do what's right. I want you to do right by those who are strangers among you. One of the big hot topics right now is open borders in the south of the United States. You can't blame people for wanting to get out of bad situations and bad economic situations and come for a chance and a land of prosperity. Now, ever how you stand on the issue, it really doesn't matter. People are people. Whether they're here legally or illegally, they're people. And if they're hungry, they need something to eat. And if they're thirsty, they need something to drink. And their little ones don't need to be separated from their parents. This is not legal decrees based on a political persuasion on one side or the other. This is Torah. You feed the hungry. You clothe the naked. You care for the children. You pay attention to these things. Now, whether they're allowed to stay or not, it's out of our hands. That's for somebody else to decide. But for the moment, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with what's happening or not, the people need help. He said, pay attention to the fact that they're sojourners. He said, when you're dealing with the crowd, don't take the bribe, don't take a lie, speak the truth. Let truth be your guard. Let truth be your foundation. When you're dealing with your crops, remember me. Pay attention. Do what's right for the land. Give the land its chance to rest. Around here, sometimes we see machines that reap one crop and they immediately are sowing another crop in the ground right behind it. Same pass. The tractor goes by, it's reaping, and behind it, it's sowing. The land barely has time to breathe. Yah says every seventh year, be good to your land. Pay attention to your animals. They need to rest. If the animals are working for you, they need their chance to rest just like you do. You got servants, you got people that are obligated to you. Be kind to them. Think about them. Do what's right by them. Do what's right with those that are in business with you. Doing the right thing. Then it used to be you would shake hands on a deal. You would give your word. And you would move heaven and earth to keep what you had obligated yourself to. Now it's a shrug of the shoulders. Nothing's written down. And even if it is written down, let's go to court and decide whether I'm obligated or not. Those days are gone. We are called as people of Yah to do what's right. And then Yah says, do what's right by me. 3 times a year, I want you to come to my city, to my house, and celebrate with me. I want you to be there at Pesach. I want you to be there at Shavuot, Pentecost. And I want you to be there at Sukkot, or Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of the Ingathering. 3 times a year, I want you to come and see me. I want you to come and bring your gifts and your offerings to me. I want you to come and sing and dance and celebrate in my streets. I want you to realize who I am and how I have delivered you, how I gave you my Torah and filled you with my breath, and how I have promised to bring all nations of the earth to my house, that my house may be called a house of prayer. That all the nations of the earth would know and understand that my king reigns on the throne of David his father, and that I put him there. So we rehearse these things. This week, we're preparing ourselves for Pesach, to be reminded not only of how we were in mighty fashion delivered from bondage. We celebrate the fact that chains have fallen off of us, that death did not come to our house, that what is taking the world out is not a plague for us. And not only were we delivered from that, we were delivered out of bondage and we were brought in. He brought us out to take us in. And we celebrate the Lamb of Elohim, who's taken away the sin of the world. Thank you, Father. We will remember. More tomorrow. Till then, shalom.